going on, YouTube? I'm JB, the producer, of course. I've been asked a few times how I set up my Pro Tools sessions to make it easier and more efficient to record and mix. Well, today I'm going to be showing you how I set up my auxiliary buses to handle groups of instruments and sounds within a session. I do this so I can apply effects like EQ, reverb, and compression to a group of tracks without going through the trouble of adding effects to every single track individually. Now, beyond saving time, it does free up a lot of CPU. Alright, now that you got your blank Pro Tools session open, first thing I do is go up here to setup. Then I click on in and out IO. Alright, you'll see a list of bus names, bus 1 and 2, bus 3 and 4, etc. all the way down to your last bus, however many you have. First thing I do is go up to bus 1 and 2 and I rename that to out 1 and 2. Then I click this box to map it to the output, which is output 1 and 2. Bus 3 and 4, I rename that to main. And I also check this box over here to map it to the output 1 and 2. Now going into your session, you already know which instruments that you're going to use. Not the individual instruments, but the group, as far as the drums, the percussion, the guitars, keys, etc. Once you find out how many groups you have and what they are, you go in and name them all. Alright, now that I got them all named, then I go in and I already know which instruments is going to be mono versus stereo. And I change the ones from stereo that needs to be in mono into mono, like this bass right here needs to be in mono. Vocal, of course, they need to be done in mono. Alright, I left one out. Sorry about that, whatever. But distorted vocals, I like to make a track just for that. Gives it that extra ambience or whatever you may call it, but I missed that one earlier. And it was going to be in stereo. Okay, now that we got all those buses named, the next thing I like to do is name all the effects that I'm going to use, as far as like compression, delay, reverb. Alright, so my compression, I like to use 2 of them. Don't ask me why, it just sounds better to me. And my delay, my reverb. Now as far as this delay, I like to have it put in mono, so this won't be everywhere. Alright, now that we got all those buses named and whether or not they're in stereo or mono, next thing I do is create 2 new buses by the name of dry mix and mix, which will handle all of these instrument buses. And then the new buses, the dry mix and the mix bus, are going to be handled by this main bus up here. Now, I know you're wondering why I'm doing this, but you'll see later. It makes everything a whole lot easier. Now, once everything there is done, just click OK. Okay, now you should be looking at the edit window view here, and you need to be looking at the mixer window view. To look at the mixer window view, you're going to hit Command equal, and that's going to toggle you between the two. Alright, looking at the mixer window view, you're going to need some auxiliary inputs. To do that, you're going to hit Command Shift N. Now, from your in and out setup before, you already know that there's going to be 11 stereo auxiliary tracks. Command Shift N to add new tracks, and it's going to be 3 mono auxiliary inputs or tracks. Once I have those listed, I go back and I name each one of these tracks. Bus, drums, This whole list from the buses that I renamed before is going to be here. So I just go down and rename every last one of them. Now when you're naming these buses, you're going to notice that there's no bass or no vocal, because this track here is in stereo and these here are in mono. So the only ones you're going to see for the stereo are going to be the stereo buses. Right? I got all the stereo buses renamed. Then I'm going to name the mono ones. And you see that mono pops up. Mono pops up. Bass. Vocal mono. And delay mono. Now that you got all those named here, you're going to match the name here to the name down here. You just double click to rename, and you're going to name it, I like to say S drums. It's a sum of all the drums that you're going to send to this track. Okay, now when I get to these effects tracks, I name them without the S. Okay, you notice on the effects in the name I have verb, but on these one I have S Big Vox and just Big Vox up here. I like to add the S for it just means sum of all the vocals that you're going to be sending to this channel here. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is import your audio. Well, I don't have any audio to import because I'm just making this as a tutorial or whatever, on what I like to do. So I'm just going to add new tracks. So audio tracks, I'm gonna stereo. I'm just gonna add 5 of them, you know, just cause. All right. I like to have my send all the way to the right of everything that's getting sent to it. Some people like to change this send to bright yellow just so they can see it or whatever, but I already know that all of my sends are going to be to the end of every instrument group, so I just have it the same color. All you do is double click the color area and it brings up the template here, and you just choose the color that matches, if I can find it. There it is.